Hello, magical people of the internet. I'm Jen, and welcome to my show, I Never Thought I Would, where we discuss doing things we never thought we would do and the unexpected places that they can lead us. I have a fabulous guest today. She is a true inspiration to me. I've known her for many, many moons. She is a singer, a songwriter, and an author, and I feel so very blessed to have the opportunity to talk to her today. Hi, Limore.
Hi, Jen. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really honored that you asked me to be a part of your show, and I love what you do, and I'm inspired by everyone that you bring on your show. All your guests are fabulous, and thanks for having me again.
Oh, thank you so much. You are too kind. So I've known you for many years, and I have a glimpse into all the different things that you've done, from opera singing to traveling around the world, performing around the world. You are such an accomplished artist. And you have, I'm sure, many stories about doing things that you never thought you would do. So, why don't you pick one of those for us today and let us know what it is and where it led you?
So, believe it or not, even though I am a singer, I never imagined that I would be able to write my own music and record an album of all my own songs. Because piano and guitar are not my strong suit, I always kind of felt like I wasn't good enough. You know, that kind of self talk that you have, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. So, I kind of believed that little voice in my head for a long time. But I managed to write an album while I was going through a really major health crisis. And I decided at that time that there's no better time to achieve your dreams and to go for it than when you are being faced with life or death. And
Yes.
we don't need to wait for that to happen in order to achieve our dreams. But that was kind of my thing that, like, oh my gosh, if I die tomorrow, then I will have not done that one thing that I dreamed of doing. And so I spent 6 months writing and recording, and it's all songs that are really, they have a deeper message because they are uplifting during a really it's what uplifted me during a really dark time. And hopefully it will continue to inspire people in the future. And it led me towards doing a concert in Toronto at the Mod Club. And then I brought that same format concert to Israel, to this club called the Barbie Club. It's a very famous um, uh, venue where all the artists that became huge in Israel, they all started out there and did a concert there. So it's just really amazing how an idea in your head can lead to something so amazing.
Okay, I'm gonna go back a little bit, but I definitely understand the plight of the artist in terms of how it's easier to talk ourselves out of things as
Yes.
opposed to into things. It's
Yes.
very easy to listen to that kind of negative voice in our head. Not just artists, everybody. Everybody has dreams and goals and things that they dream of doing, wish they could do, and then there's that little voice like, "No, who do you think you are?"
Right.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, literally.
So, okay, so you said you were faced with a health crisis. Do you mind telling us a little bit about it and
Sure.
how that kind of opened this door in your mind that you kept closing?
So, just shy of my 40th birthday, I got diagnosed with a locally advanced breast cancer that had traveled to my lymph nodes, and it was definitely a life-threatening situation. And I needed to go through every treatment that is available. I needed that. So I did chemo, I did a major surgery, a mastectomy, and they took out all my lymph nodes. And then I did radiation afterwards. And then I'm on some medication as preventative for the rest of my life. But the full range of treatments it took a full year.
Mhm.
They also took out my ovaries. It was just a lovely year. And um, I decided pretty early on that I wanted to go through it in a way that was slightly different because I did spend 3 days crying literally 24 hours. of the day. And I realized that that is, if I continue that way, it's going to do a lot of damage to me, to my husband, to my kids. They were really young. They were 7, 5, and 3 at the time.
Oh my God.
And so that's not something that, I just decided that I'm going to look at it in a positive way and look at all the treatments as medicines and healing, and that this is what I need to grow and to heal and to improve. But I asked to grow as a human, as a soul, as a and I really did a lot of work on myself. And my first question to my doctor really was, will all the treatments affect my voice? And it's a very odd first question. But when she said no, I right away turned to my husband. I said, I'm recording an album. And that's exactly what I did. And I wrote my title song called Alive 3 days after my first chemo treatment.
Wow.
And
So
that
I have another question. Do you think that being inspired to create during this really devastating and challenging time helped you overcome your illness because you now
100,
had a purpose?
100%. I feel like having a project, having a purpose is critical for anyone at any time, because the minute you feel like you don't have purpose, that's when you start losing your desire to wake up in the morning, literally. There's endless studies done on people that retire and don't have a plan for retirement, and how quickly their health, their mental health and physical health deteriorates, as well as motivation, when they don't have that office to go to at a certain time and feel needed and have a sense of purpose. So that's what I advise anyone that does contact me for advice on what to do. Anyone that was diagnosed, unfortunately, I hear a lot of anyone that gets diagnosed with anything, I usually get some kind of a message, and I'm so happy to help. And one of the pieces of advice I say is, look for something that you love. If you don't know what you love, you need to find that thing, because why are we on earth?
Mhm.
Find something that you love and do it often, and create a project that involves that thing, so that you have purpose, you have a direction, you have something to work towards. And I don't care whether it's doing a university course, learning about astronomy, creating your own YouTube channel, writing a book, taking a flower arranging class, beading. It doesn't matter what it is. Going for a walk with a friend, schedule it in such a way that you're consistently looking forward to something that gives you this boost of energy and joy and love. And that is the energy that we need to keep our thoughts positive. Because thinking negative, it's the natural default of where your brain goes. It's just easier to think negatively. But to think positively, you almost have to actively push those thoughts away and insert something else. And we have the power to do that.
That is so wise and so profound. I love what you're saying. It really resonates with me. We have to have a purpose that brings us joy
Mm-hmm.
and that gets us excited to get out of bed every day. Like, this is amazing. Okay, so now I want to go back. So, you had a concert at the Mod Club, and then you took this same concert to Israel.
Yes.
And what stage were you at of your health when you were performing? Because performing always gives you this, like, it takes a lot out of us, but especially performing for a live audience, it feeds us and it fuels us because there's an energy exchange.
So I was fully recovered from all my treatments. It had been 6 months since my last surgery when I performed in the concert. So I was in quote unquote good health.
Mhm.
I hadn't fully recovered from the draining effects of radiation. They had ended 6 months earlier, and I found radiation really exhausting down to the core. But like you said, I was feeding off of the energy of the crowd. I'm a naturally very energetic person. And I really miss performing live. That's definitely such a treat. I feel that you really get to connect with an audience, and your emotions and everything that you put into it. You get a real live satisfaction, and I get a high. I can't go to sleep after I've performed.
It's this exchange between the performers and the audience, and you get feedback, you get immediate feedback. They're giving you energy, and exactly when you get off stage, you're wired, you're so hyped up, and it's
Yeah.
impossible to fall asleep.
It's so true. I'm literally like, oh, can't,
Yeah.
can't.
So what's the name of the album and where can everybody find it?
So the album that I wrote during that time, it's called Alive, and you can find it on iTunes or Spotify or even YouTube. You spell my name Limore, so it's Lee More, not Lee Less. You want more of Lee More. And I'm actually right now during COVID, I decided to embark on another album project to motivate myself and give myself again more purpose. I'm doing a Spanish album of songs that my grandma taught me growing up, and that has been kind of the soundtrack of our life. I'm inspired by an artist named Idi Gourmet, Los Panchos. So she used to play with this band called Los Panchos. And she's actually a Moroccan Jewish lady who would sing in Spanish, and her voice is like butter. And I grew up on all these boleros. So I've been brushing up on my Spanish skills, learning a little bit of guitar. I'm not really that good enough to record myself playing guitar, but I'm learning all of them. I could probably pull it off live, perhaps, but for a recording, it's a whole other level of expertise. But that's been giving me a lot of excitement, and I'm walking around the house practicing and saying my R's right. Pero, not pero, pero. My sister-in-law is Mexican, and so thank God for her, because I literally call her every other day. How do you say this word? And how do you say this one? What does it really mean? And what is it in context? And what is the feeling here? And what do I need to convey? Because, at the end of the day, music is about connecting emotionally to your audience. It's not even about your notes. It's not even about how good you sing. And I had one of those eureka moments with my singing lesson yesterday. My teacher, Marla Joy, she's amazing. And she always talks about how you have to really connect to what you're singing.
Mhm.
And in the beginning of the lesson, I was so nervous about my notes and having the proper intonation and accent. And then by the end of the lesson, I was just into the message of the song. And naturally, my voice just improved with it.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
I
because
feel
there's
like
that soul connection.
and I feel like in anything that we do, if we put the emotion behind it and find that purpose of what you're really trying to achieve, then you'll do it that much better, whether you're on a stage or even doing a Zoom call for a business call. If you know your purpose, what you want that person to feel and do at the end, then whatever you say will convey that.
Yes, so true. So I'm going to move forward a little bit because this album, Alive, was not the only thing that came out of your experience overcoming cancer. You also wrote a book.
Yes, I did.
So tell us about this book, Aggressive Positivity.
Along the way, I realized that I was going through my treatments in a way that's a little bit different. And I realized that it could help people. And a lot of people were reaching out, asking me how I went through, because they saw me singing and dancing through all my treatments. They're like, how did you do that? How did you do that? And I wanted to share with everyone um, what I did in a methodical way, in almost like a scientifical way. What did I did? What are the steps? How can you bring that into your life? And it's not necessarily tied to cancer. It's to any challenge. How can you look at that challenge and get through it in a uplifted, energetic way so that it almost feels like you're just going through any other part of your life. It's so I'm going to give you the 60-second aggressive positivity philosophy so that you don't have to read the book necessarily to apply some of the tenets. So, the first thing is that you do have to come to terms with what you are going through. So, having the realization and awareness, okay, I am broke, I am ill, I am whatever the situation is. If you're in denial, then we can't go anywhere from there. So, first, you have to be aware, okay, so in my situation, I am ill. So, the first thing you have to do is do a mind flip. What is a mind flip? You have to change your perspective and even the words to describe what you're going through. So I told myself, I'm not sick, I'm healing. It's not chemo, it's medicines, it's not surgery, they're saving my life. And you can do that to any situation in life. The greater the challenge, the easier the flipped state of mind is to think of. Just like hot becomes cold, war, peace, isolation, COVID, connectivity. So you can, the more extreme it is, the opposite is easier to think of.
Mhm.
Now,
I
that's
love
step
this.
one.
I love this because it's so true. I was actually at synagogue of all places for the high holidays a couple years ago, and the rabbi was talking about the importance of words and how words have the power to create worlds and how powerful words are. And it's something that we really take for granted in our lives.
For sure. And it works even with my kids. I see it. If I come from the perspective that they are good and I tell them that they are good and what I want them to do in a good way, they will rise to that occasion. But if I scold them and say, "Why did you do that? That's terrible. That's bad," then they walk away feeling terrible and bad rather than inspired to achieve a better self. So, the second step of aggressive positivity is that so our thoughts, we got the mind flip part, amazing. But the problem with thoughts is that they are fickle. And so on one second you're on a high, yay, I'm healing, and the next I'm sick, I'm dying. So how do you stop that eventual dip in your thoughts? You have to hit it with an aggressive action of love. What does that mean? Finding that activity that gives you a boost of energy, that gives you love, that literally feeds your heart and soul. You
Mhm.
find that activity and you have to schedule it aggressively so that you're consistently being filled up with something that elevates you and gives you the energy to keep your thoughts up high. Because that is so energy sucking to stay positive. Actually, it takes all of your energy. So you have to always make sure that you're full, and then you can be the best you that you can be.
How did you come to this realization? Because you're a mom, you have 3 kids, you have a husband, you're diagnosed with this life-threatening illness. Like, how did you, what resources, or how did you come to this realization in yourself of tackling the thought process?
I just turned inward and looked for a positive way to do things.
Mhm.
They did this amazing study where if you try to be happy, just the act of trying means that you're more likely to succeed in being happy. And it sounds counterintuitive, and it's funny that they spent science dollars researching it. But the truth is that when you're trying to do something, then you're more likely to find a door that will open. And it's not that it came to me in a dream, or it kind of evolved. And I gave it a name that made sense to me after kind of thinking, okay, what did I did? First, I didn't want to hear anything negative. So when I'd go to my doctor appointments from day one, I told my doctor, I only want to hear the good things. I
Mm.
don't want to know recurrence rates, survival rates. Don't tell me those things because those numbers will dance in my head and make me crazy. So I only want to know the good news. So at every appointment after chemo, she'd say, "Are you this? Are you feeling tired? Are you nauseous?" And I'm like, "No, no, 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 no." And tell me the good news. The good news is your tumor shrunk. Amazing. I'm going to focus on that. And so I chose to focus on the good news at all times. And so that thought of, oh, it's medicine and healing, I thought, oh, that's flipping it. You're flipping your
Mhm.
mind. But then what I did with my music, and I decided to do that very early on, is I'm going to record an album through treatments. What a wonderful thing, because I scheduled it so tightly so that I'd have a recording session 3 days after chemo. Well, that's the day that I'm not feeling so well. But guess what? It motivated me to get out of bed and be my extra best self. And that excitement was what helped me to have less side effects because my body was full of excited energy and positive thoughts. And so I would purposely schedule gigs and performances before surgery, right after surgery. I mean, right after my mastectomy, 3 days later, I was singing at Israel Day. And that was my motivation to get out of bed. And what occupied my mind, rather than feeling sorry for myself that I have drains and this big scar and the devastation of losing a breast, instead I'm thinking, ooh, what outfit am I going to wear on stage? And what kind of thing am I going to put with a little diamond thing here to distract from my baldness? That was occupying my mind more than my surgery. And that's the part that is the most important, is that those activities will make whatever challenged you fade in its impact and importance because you have so much better things to look forward to. And that, I feel like, is the real advantage in scheduling those things. That's the will help you in life, if regardless of whether you're ill or not. I mean, everyone's going through something. Everyone is battling something: addiction, financial troubles, health troubles, parental, children, spouse, partners. Everyone that I know has something. We're all carrying a bag on our back, right? So the question is, are you going to help yourself carry that bag? Are you going to help yourself get through life? Are you going to do things joyfully? If you learn to dance in crap, literally, then that, in my opinion, is that you've mastered life, because you're taking that bag and you're saying, I'm going to dance and enjoy despite all of that.
Yes, and I completely agree that having things to look forward to, having things on the schedule to keep our mind focused on staying positive and excited is such an important thing, because there are so many people who go through adversity, challenges, illnesses,
Mm-hmm.
um, and they just kind of resolve that, oh, this is my situation, and they
Right.
keep telling themselves that story of this is my situation, as opposed to rewriting the story, putting things on the calendar, having things that force you to move forward in a state of joy.
I sometimes think to myself, there's a lot of people that could benefit from using this method, and it doesn't work for everyone, and it doesn't match everyone's personalities, and everyone has different tools to work with.
Mhm.
But the idea here is to just try, even in little bits. Even
Mhm.
for 5 minutes a day, try and think about your messed up situation that you're going through in a positive way. Just find that one little spark. It could be tiny, but even a tiny spark can light a room and it can evolve. Um, and so, I can think of so many situations where, you know, it can help. So, I don't know. I'm sure all around you, you see all kinds of suffering, um, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that not everybody has good support systems. I feel like support of a family is also critical, and that's why COVID has been extra cruel, because getting a hug is just, it's more than just the physical exchange. It's good for your mental health. You don't feel alone.
Mhm.
But one of the things that we can do during COVID and during these weird times is connect online, which is a
Yeah.
special thing. It's just what we're able to do today with me and you, and hopefully that we can inspire even one person to have a happier day.
Well, you've definitely inspired me. I am so grateful that you came on and you shared your experience and your insight with us, because I know this can really help a lot of people. It's so challenging sometimes to get outside of our own negative thoughts. It's one of the hardest things in the world,
Mm-hmm.
especially when we're going through adversity. It's hard enough to get
Yeah,
rid of the negative self talk in the best of times,
that's right.
let alone while we're going through life or death situations, whether it's illness, finances, loss of work, loss of home. There's so many things that people are going through right now because of COVID. So I hope everybody out there has a chance to take a look at this phenomenal book. And even if there's just one step in there that can help you, it will definitely be worth your while. So where can we find you? Where can we find the book?
So, Aggressive Positivity is on Amazon.com right now. I'm going to show you what the cover looks like so that when you search it, you'll be able to recognize it right away. It's available actually globally at the moment, and you'll see the reviews of what people thought about it. And you can order a digital copy or a physical copy. So, if you have a Kindle, it'll work as well. One of my projects after I'm done the Spanish album is I'd like to do an audio book of aggressive positivity, because there are very many visually impaired people, or people like to actually listen while driving, and gain some knowledge. So, another project.
Yes, excellent. And of course, we'll have all the links below to make it easy for everybody out in the interweb to find your album, find your book, and find you on social media if they want
Oh,
to
yeah.
follow and connect with you. So all the links will be below. And Limor, I want to thank you again so much for taking the time to chat today and to share your experience and your knowledge with us. This has been such a profound experience for me. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I hope I'll be able to see you physically soon one day.
Yes, and thank you all in the interweb for tuning in. You can find Limor at all the links below. You can find her album, her book, her social media. And I'd like to challenge you out there to do something you never thought you would do. Let us know what it is in the comments and where it leads you. Thanks and have a beautiful day.